wanna get it in my name, say my name. What is that?
Fuck a politician, come ride with the boss in the backseat. A lot on my mind, I don't wanna think. She come relax me. Diving at the water, breaststroke. Tell me your thoughts, peep show. Knowing the mission, don't stop. Respectfully. Told her she better say my name. What's my
Alrighty, welcome everyone. This is episode 12. I just asked that and still had to think about it. But this is episode 12 of Growth Talk Podcast. We are super excited to jump on here and just be able to add some value to you guys. Man, we're gonna jump into it. We got some questions that we want to ask, and then we'll go from there. But remember, if you find something, hear something on here that definitely speaks to you, resonates with you, hit that like button and also share it. What hitting that like button allows it to just get in that algorithm on YouTube, and it may pop up on someone else's feed that just was lurking a little bit, scrolling, and they come across it, and it was something that they may needed to hear that day. So you hitting that like button helps us spread our impact, and also it spreads yours. So let's get into it. That's it. And yes, I'm so sorry. I'm with my lovely co-host James and Nay. What's up, y'all?
What's up?
What's up? So yeah, I like I said, have some questions around being pushed. And the reason why I wrote these questions is because a lot of people, being pushed, I believe, is good. I feel like everyone needs to be pushed, because if not, we'll get stuck in our own routine and what we're doing. But the first question for you guys: do you believe being pushed is a necessity, or do you believe it's necessary? Why or why not?
I believe it can both work in both ways. And I mean, in a situation to where the person wants to be pushed or not, that standpoint, if they don't, then you can't really force it upon them. But then if you know the person and you get to liking them, or the connection is, genuine, then I could say you can have areas where you want to push that person. And so from that standpoint, then it's kind of like a questions game. Like you just said, you have questions for this, but it's kind of like a questions game to how much can I push you? And so it's complicated in a way, because you have to consider that, where people are at the time. But at the same time, it's like there's certain things that you can get done regardless of the situation. And so, I'm trying to get these bugs away from me. But but it's that situation there to where it gets complicated. And I don't mean it like in a strong, complicated way, but if someone wants to get something done, they get it done. And sometimes that extra push helps them. But in a way, it's kind of like, is that person ready to be pushed? And that's why I say asking that certain question to where, okay, how much can I push you, or where are you at? How bad do you want it? Is there certain avenues that I can help you with? Because sometimes, people might be in a situation that you actually can aid to that, to actually get them out of there faster, to where you could push them even more, because they might just be in a strut or a rut. And it's like they need that extra person that they can get help from, to where then, okay, they're on the same page now. So now you basically have their trust even more, to where if you push them, it's not like a burden. Because I know a lot of people, when they first get pushed and they're not used to that push, they feel like, okay, what is his or her real intention? And I felt that way, because I was like, when I first got into like this, entrepreneur space, I was like, okay, why is they really pushing me? Like, I've always been an athlete, but why is, like, you're pushing me in a whole different realm? And people don't understand that. Like, you can be an athlete, but at the same time, if you don't have that athletic drive to kind of understand it, then it's kind of like, why are they pushing me? Are they really in for my money, or are they really trying to help me? And so when it comes from that kind of standpoint, you have to understand what is the person thinking? Yeah. And that's why, when you get into this entrepreneur space, it's like you really have to work on your mind, because your mind has been programmed so much in the opposite way, to where you don't think of, you don't get creative with your thinking. And that's probably the hardest thing you can do when you're trying to build something, or build a business, or work for yourself, because it's going to feel lonely. And you're going to need to push in order to get past it to make something out of it.
Yeah.
But not many people understand that push, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, if this was like open mic, I would do this right now.
For real.
But no, man, you dropped so many gems right there. Like, you know, for you coaches out there that's listening to this episode, or if you're in a position of leadership, that's a great way to approach it with someone that you're working with, is asking them that question. Those questions like James shared in the beginning, you might want to rewind this episode and write those questions down, because that'll help you. Because I think that's so important because it's also establishing that relationship of like, okay, you know, with that person, because you, like you said, you got to meet people where they're at, and you don't know where they're at. So I have to, in order to find out, I got to ask questions. So me asking, hey, is it cool if I push you, or is it cool, you know, to what extent are you wanting to be pushed? And I think that's so important. And yeah, everything else that you said, it was awesome, bro. Great gems. Nate,
Kind of to add to that. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna add one more thing to it, and kind of like people will, like how you said, using the coaching word, it's like people will make themselves known what they want to do anyways. And then like, what I mean by that is like, say for instance, if you're talking to me, or so I'm talking to somebody, or we're talking to that person, me, or all three of us talking to that one person, you know, you get excited and everything like that, or they get excited and they're talking about, you know, I want to do this, that, and that, and that, and that. And it was like, okay, you can shut up at the time yourself, not them, but us. We can shut up and just let them talk. And we can kind of, you know, digest everything they're saying and be like, okay, you saying you want this. Okay, you're saying you want that. So when something goes wrong, let me see how you react to it. Because what you just told me, I didn't have to repeat what you told me. It's basically, I heard what you said, but then, okay, let me get, because I said this to my wife about somebody's relationship. I was like, okay, it's all chits and giggles in the beginning, but at the same time, let me see how that first fuss, what happens after that first, you know, argument. Yeah. Then that's when the real relationship starts. Like, that's not, you get in the beginning of a relationship and it's like, okay, la, 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 you know, lollygagging around. And then that first argument comes and then they ain't together no more.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. What's your thoughts, Nate, on being pushed? Do you think it's necessary? Why or why not?
I definitely think it's necessary, because like you just said, everything that James said, definitely straight gems. Because like, we do as people, because we are human, we do get in a rut. We do kind of get off course, you know, like as we go through our journey. So it's definitely important to have people that hold you accountable, people that actually do care genuinely to push you to where you're trying to go. Because you also have to look at it too, because people around you can push you into a good space, or people can push you into a bad space. So it just depends on which way you're wanting, you know, like even yourself being pushed. Because I can even say, like, within the past couple of weeks, people have been trying to push me into a bad place, just bringing up my past. Like, you can't do this now, and I ain't about to listen to none that you saying, because you used to blase. But it's like, okay, I've been pushed though to a great place of growth. I've been pushed to a point of, hey, you got to get up, you got to keep going, you got this, is greatness inside of you. I've been pushed with positive words and positive things, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to go where you're trying to push me to right now. I'm going to go to the growth place. Like, okay, you stay over there. I'm going to continue being pushed here. I'm going to continue being pushed into my destiny, pushed into greater character, like pushed in a positive way. And every time I feel that push of pressure, I'm not looking at it as a hurt. I'm not looking at it as a bad way, in a negative way. I'm looking at it as growth, me personally being pushed, because that's how I look at it. And like I said, the cases that I've been in these past couple of weeks, and even when you are someone else's accountability partner, like James said, you have to know how much you can push them, because you don't want to push them overboard. You don't want to push them into being overwhelmed. You don't want to push them into regret. You don't want to push them in a negative place. So that's why you even have to ask that extra question, like, right now, where is your mindset? Like, are you in a good place right now? Are you in a bad place right now? So that you will know, like, how much you can actually push them, because you don't want to push them into I don't even want to deal with this no more.
Yeah.
I'm good. Like, I'm okay. So pushing is definitely great depending on the space that you're in. Because I even today, and like, it was so crazy because I haven't even talked to this person in a long time, and they text me and they were like, "Can you call me?" And I was like, "Yes, of course." And I called, and they were just in a bad place. But I knew, because of the relationship that we have, that I have permission to push them. And in the bad space that they were in, every time I would push them into like a good place, they would back out of it like, no, 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 no. Like, you don't understand. Like, you don't get it. Because I know I gotta go back here because that's where I'm comfortable. And like I said, it's okay to be comfortable, but it's better to be uncomfortable because you're growing. And what you're doing is running back to that comfortable place when it you wasn't growing, you were at a standstill. So do you want me to help you, or do you want me to pacify you right now? Do you want me to baby you right now? Like, what are you asking from me? Because when you asked me to call you, I thought that you were asking for help. I didn't assume that you were calling for me to baby sit you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought you was ready for that real, but everybody isn't. So you can't, I guess, like James said, you got to ask them questions over again, because I thought we had that relationship where it was like, I can push you and you're not going the right way right now. Hey, snap out of it. You got to go, come on, because you done been there before. Like, it's time to, go over here. But because of the mindset, they wasn't hearing any of that. It was going in one ear and out the other, and it was like, I gotta do this. I probably should have told you to call me. Like, you were probably right, because right now I don't care if you like it or you don't like it. Like, I'm gonna give it to you how it is, and hey, you take it or you leave it. But it's off of my hands at that point. Like, when I did my part and I told you, that was it. The blood isn't on my hands, so you take it or you leave it, and I sent up some prayers and
Exactly. Because I believe too, like, at the end of the day, we can't shy away from who God made us to be either. So it's like you said, whether you like it or not, this is who I am. This is what's in me. I did my part, whether you take that or not. And they'll appreciate it, even if that moment they don't. Because a lot of times what you find, and especially sometimes, people just want to call to vent and talk about the situation. They're not even wanting to call for the solution or help. They just wanted you to listen. And that's another challenge too. When you have that in you to push or to help people and stuff like that in that way, is to know, like, okay, this is a call where you're just wanting to vent. So I'm just gonna listen, and I'm gonna still speak some life, drop a little life in there, but I'm not about to, because I know I would get so wrapped up into it, like, why aren't they getting it? Like, in my mind,
don't feel bad. It's been times. Don't feel bad. It's been times people vented to me on the phone. I just left my phone on the sofa and I just walked away a little bit. So I have to be honest on that one. I've done it like at least once or twice.
Because it did, like, once I get
at a certain
to the
point,
where I'm
like,
getting a headache,
what
you
it's
say,
like,
bro?
it's at a point. Yeah, at a point, I'm just like, I don't even know what you're talking about anymore.
and pick up the phone and say, man, I already know.
I'm guilty of it. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, you don't realize you don't went in the same circle 3 times.
What's bad about that is they can vent, and this is a while back. It wasn't with nobody even recently, but it's like a long time back. But it was to the point where it's like they vented, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm listening to anymore. But then you give the solution to like what you heard, and I'm just like, and they still end up doing the same thing. So I was like, in my head, I was like, what was that conversation even for? Yeah, you're venting, but you're gonna do the same exact thing over.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So
Because like you said, they're just venting. They're not looking for a solution. They just wanna just complain about it.
yeah.
Like I said, I don't want none of my energy. Like I don't want
Because people will they'll dump their stuff on you. And that's why we gotta, for listeners out there, you gotta guard your mind of and that's why it's so important about being aware, because it's like, look, man, I was having a great day.
Yeah.
Why I feel tired now?
that's why, because you allowed it in.
Exactly, man.
You can't.
You can't.
And it's easy too when you have a good heart, when you are a listener, when you've done it before. I think that kind of when you okay it, like the first time, okay, it's fine. Okay, now the second time you come around, okay, now, and then here you come. Oh yeah, the dog's cooking dinner. I'm gonna call you back. Like, yeah, I gotta go. Like,
for real though. Speaking of what you just said though, that's why boundaries are so important, everyone, because you gotta put them boundaries up, and it's okay. After you done, like you said, we done had, because certain people you just know by now, So if you get yourself caught up in that conversation, you like, see, I thought it was a little hope that it was gonna go this route, and I knew I shouldn't have answered this phone call. But I think it's all part of growth and learning too.
It is.
But boundaries are important. Setting those boundaries, and don't be ashamed to set those boundaries.
Definitely.
Yeah. Next question I want to ask y'all: how do y'all process getting pushed? Like once you've been pushed, because sometimes one, I feel like two things could happen when someone gets pushed, and we've all been guilty of it. I know I have. You get defensive or you get offended. Like it's one or three things. Let's say three things: defensive, offended, or you accept it. You like, okay, you get to a place of growth where it's like, okay, so how do you process it, and how do you, how can you help someone else that's listening right now better process being pushed? Because I look at being pushed, maybe feedback, maybe something, getting you to that next level, helping you with your dream, vision, whatever the case may be. But how do you process it, and what can you share to help someone else better process it as well?
I think it comes from the person. I mean, knowing the person, and then at the same time, it's like, it's human nature, in my opinion. Like, unless you try not to do it, you there's times you will get defensive. Like, we've all done it, and I would say, how can I say clearly? I guess you'd say, mainly you just have to know the person, because if you don't know the person and they're giving, like, if there's an outside person giving you feedback on something, you can take it with a grain of salt, and just like either you can ignore it, but you don't really ignore it, but you ignore it. If that makes sense. Like, you don't really pay no mind to it, but you saw it though, so it's kind of like still in the back of your mind. It's like, okay, I can improve here. If they really think about that, okay, what areas do I feel personally that I can work on? But when you know from like the know of the person, and if it's defensive or anything like that, I think if you know the person more, not saying it don't happen, but if you know the person more, then it's easier to take in, I guess you can say, because you know their intentions, And so when you know their intentions, I mean, it's like dang, I don't agree with what they're saying, or I get defensive, blah blah blah. But then you know, hour goes by, and it's like, okay, then you can't admit to them because they're right, but at the same time, it's like they're right. So I was like, okay. So that I think that's another barrier that people have is like, okay, I'm listening to you, and then we can go back and forth, but at the same time, that's when you start to kind of get that mutual agreement at the end. It's like, okay, we had our disagreement. It's just like regular business. You have your disagreements, you have your agreements, and then you kind of settle at a medium, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But I think that the one that downgrades it altogether is when you get defensive, and then you don't come to that happy medium place at the end, because then you're kind of like, no, then I'm doing it on my own, blah blah, because I don't agree with whatever they say. Okay, just tell them what you don't agree with, and then they can understand where you're coming from then, and then you can fix around it. That's why I say everybody comes to a middle ground if you can kind of know the person. But some people don't do that. I mean, yeah, I can go on and on, but that's just my take, honestly.
Yeah. And I think you do a real great job at one of the ways that you push, James, that I love. You have a great ability, and I've told you this many times, but asking questions, because putting stuff in the form of a question can push someone, and it's a softer, it's not a hard like blow, you know what I mean? But it's allowing them to think as well, the person to think. And you've definitely challenged me at times. And like I said, I love the fact that you ask questions. So I would say, listeners, one of the things, if you are a coach or person in leadership, and this is something that a mentor of ours taught us as well, is ask questions. That's how you can, push people at the same time without, now sometimes it may require you to be direct, but questions is real good to do. And like I said,
to kind of cut you off on that too, is like, not like in that way, but it's kind of add to that. It's like, I wouldn't say I'm perfect at that either, only because it's like the questions is a good thing, but the person has to be willing to give you the answers. And so when they don't give you the feedback, it's also frustrating. So then that's where that area of you trying to grow yourself, that not many other people that you're trying to help understand that. But when you're trying to grow yourself and you ask questions, so say for instance, you ask me questions like just anything where, hey, so what do you think you're struggling at? And I just say, I don't know. It's hard to digest that. It's like, it's hard to help you if I just say I don't know. So it's kind of like that's another it's like it's another area that I'm not really the greatest at yet. And I struggle a lot at that, because it's like, okay, I know the question to ask you. How can I, like, as far as helping? But if you have no feedback, then I can't go anywhere from that.
Like in a digging, kind of.
Yeah, like I'm trying to get to the root of it.
That is true. That is the challenge of leadership, is once you ask that question, and then it's like, okay, so what other question I have? So, but that's a good point though, what you said, James, that you got to be able to give good feedback to people. Like, and it goes back to knowing having that relationship and knowing the person's intent and all that good stuff, but it's all about that, because you have to be able to give feedback. So a person can help you. If you want help, you got to let people know what's going on. Now, it's not saying you sharing all your business, but the things that's, you got to share some things that's going to give them, because maybe something that you share, maybe they've already been through it. But if you, and they can help you, through it, but if you don't share it, they don't know. Like, no one is a mind reader, right? So that's a good point, James, is that you gotta, being a mentor and mentee, because I feel like both, even mentors or mentees as well, because they have coaches and stuff like that. So it's like, be able to ask good questions, but also be able to be honest and say what's really going on, so that person can really help you, But again, going back to knowing the intent of the person is important as well. Nate, what's your thoughts? How do you process it, and what can you give the audience of what's a better way for them to process it and start being able to digest being pushed?
I would definitely say first thing, relationship, depending on who it's coming from. Also, even what type of relationship? Like, am I starting a relationship with building, and then, it's coming into you giving me this information, or trying to figure out what your intentions are? Like, different ways on looking at it. And I would say how I got through it was just being open.
That's key.
Of like just processing it all. Like, if you're not open to it, you're always gonna be on the defense. You're always gonna be like, well, damn it. Like, it's always gonna come in a negative way, versus you being open, whether you build a relationship with this person or whether you're building a relationship with this person. Like, listening, because a person will tell you everything that you need to know just by listening to them, literally. Like, and being open, I'm not gonna lie, because I was the type of person where I was always on the fence, because the way that my heart is set up, and just giving and giving and giving, like, you just get tired of that, and you get on the like I don't even like, nah, man, because what you bringing to the table? So then you get that question in them, and they honestly, it's even just trying to help, like, whoa. But depending on where your mindset is too, like when someone is, pressing you or pushing you, like, what are your intentions? Go back to asking them questions, even if it's on the opposite side. Like, if someone is mentoring you and you're starting to feel something, like, say something like, I just want you to be honest with me. Like, what is your intentions right now? Like, ask them questions, like, so that you won't have that feeling in between you guys where I can't even do business with you no more. Oh, I don't like what you're saying. Like, I'm just gonna ignore it. Like, you doing too much, man. Like, chill out. Like, I'm gonna just block you. Like, so instead of you going to that way, like James said, like, start a conversation, like, communicate, like, put it all out on the table. Like, what do you see for me? The reason why you even pushing me right now? Can you answer that question for me? And then I'll answer what you're talking about, because right now you're making me feel uncomfortable. And I just want to know, like, is it for me, or like James said, is it for the money? Is it for whatever what you want to get out of it? Are you really trying to help me?
Yeah.
Because people can push people into pushing them because they see their goals. They're not even worried about the other person's goals that they're pushing. They're just pushing them so that they can get to where they're trying to get. And that's not fair to the person that you're trying to help. Like, because in reality, you're really not even helping them. You're just trying to help yourself, but putting on a persona like you're trying to help them. And the way that the world is set up, that's like how it is now. And it's sad, because when the genuine people come, excuse me, like GSN, and we ask questions or we try to help, they're already automatically on the fence.
Yeah.
I've seen this before. No, I've heard that before. Nope, you ain't gonna get me with that one. Like, no one is open anymore. Everyone has that wall up. Like, it, like, automatic. No, I ain't trying to hear it. It's already on the fence.
Yeah.
So being open has helped me process a lot. Being open has helped me with a lot of different even opportunities, because we get so used to what we're used to. And I was watching this clip the other day, and this girl was like, I don't understand how you can even get used to something like this. And he said, well, honestly, you can get used to anything if you're around it long enough. And when he said that, I had to sit back, rewind it like you told Jay with James and them questions, rewind, play. You said, huh? Because it makes sense. You do get used to stuff when you're around it long enough. So you don't know what you would get used to. You have to be around it long enough. Negative. If you're around it long enough, you're going to start being messy. You're going to start being negative. Positive. If you're around it long enough, you're going to get used to that. So it's like, changing up stuff. Be open to different opportunities. You may not go for this type of guy or gal, but man, be open to like. And that one was for me, y'all. Whew. Because like I said, well, I'm looking for this special type. God told me to be open.
Man, but this is amazing because it's like whether it's intimate or platonic relationships, building the relationships, being open, asking questions, that's what you communicating, that's what you got to do. Like to find out who a person is anyway, to see how, especially if you're like on the coaching side of someone or you're leading them, to see what they're wanting for themselves, to see where they're trying to go, trying to go, so you will know where to push them and how to push them, and then not just that, build the relationship with them, because that alone will teach you more about the person, because the person will start opening up, and then you paying attention to see, oh, that makes them, they get excited about that, they love that, you start picking up on certain things, and then you also, on the flip side of that, you start finding out what kind of gets them down. Okay, they're kind of getting down in this moment. Okay, so it's relationship building is so key. Knowing how to build relationships, knowing the activity that's required to build the relationship, because that's needed in everything we do, whether business, whether intimate, whether family, we're building work, it's all relational. So no, that's real. That's some good stuff, y'all. Okay, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit. I know we've been talking about push, but it's kind of, all growth related. But switching gears about talking about change. Okay, how do you guys adjust and adapt to change, and why is it important to adapt and adjust to change when we live in a world that's constantly changing? Things are changing, and it's not even just about the world changing. It may be a change in a new process, a change in the way that you do something, a change in approach. You know what I mean? So how do you guys adapt and adjust to it? And then, why is it important?
You can pick and choose. Oh, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay.
You're good. You're good.
Okay. I literally just wrote down on the sticky note, change is good.
Oh, wow.
And, right. Because with myself personally, like I like the same stuff. Like I like to get a schedule set up. I like to abide by because it makes it flow so much better. But then when change comes around, I had to accept it because, like you said, it's so many different things that's changing. You have to evolve with what's happening out here, and accepting that it's not easy, but it's good. I promise. Because just speaking for myself, with me being in the same spot that I was a year ago, and the things that I accepted a year ago, the people that I hung around a year ago, it's like, oh my God, if you didn't change that, you would still be there. So it's like accepting the change and going with it. Don't fight the change. Ooh. Don't fight the change. If it comes up, do it. Do not fight it, because if you fight it, it's going to get worse, because it's something that should have been changed. As you grow and evolve, you have to change. Like that's something that's constant. We don't realize it. It's constant though. And it's good. I know I've been able to breathe a whole lot more. Like that's what it is about that, and don't want to change stuff. Do it, because it'll set you free. I promise. Like, oh, it's like a good feeling. Change, like, because you have to. Especially if you're growing. If you're growing, you're changing. Just know. So if you're not putting in any type of change, you're at a standstill right now. And you don't want to be at a standstill. Like, change it up.
Thanks. Good stuff.
I'm the same way. I agree with all that. I mean, basically, if you're not going to change, you know, everything around you isn't going to change. And then some of the stuff around you has to change anyway. So if you don't adapt to it, it's like you're already falling behind. It's just like what you said earlier, Jamie, like in a world full of change. Like if you don't adapt to the change, you can't control the world. So you have to adapt to it. If you don't adapt to it, you get behind. And so then that brings nothing but, you know, just more, you know, problems basically. So if you don't adapt to change, that's one thing about when my daughter came. I was like, that was a full all change right there. I didn't have to worry about a kid beforehand. So I have to worry about that. It's either, you know, wake up 2 or 3 times a night. Okay, I could say no, I don't want to do that. Then how she get, you know, how she get the needs she needs. And so that's just change right there. And you know, just stuff that you might not want to happen has to happen. And so if you don't adjust to the change, I mean, like how you said, Nate, it's like if you're growing, you're changing. So if you don't allow it to happen, it's like you're not growing. So you have to. There's some things you just can't control. There's just no way around it. You just can't control it. So you have to adapt to it.
Thanks. And if you want more for your life, it's gonna be a requirement. Change is like that. What is a prerequisite of going towards the things that you're wanting? Because I mean, again, like if you've been on a journey of doing the same thing, like what you were saying, same thing over and over, and now I want something different, it's going to require some type of shift in direction, and it is going to feel uncomfortable in the beginning, but it's going to be worth it later on.
Like if no one's used to change, then they have serious problems, in my opinion, because every day is a change. Like every day is a freaking change. Like if you have a morning routine, something might happen that day. You have to adjust to it. If you have a certain way of going to work that day and the road's cut off, you're just not gonna go to work today for the rest of the week. No, you have to go to work. So it's like you have to adapt to it. So it's like, what other way you're going to do? You're like, okay, if you lose your car keys in the morning or something like that, and you're in a hurry or something like that, you have to adjust to it. It's like you're going to be late. Like you just have to, you know, tell the person that you're meeting up with, you're just going to be late. It's like there's no way around it. I'm trying to look for my car keys. And if they get mad, I mean, it is what it is. If they get mad, shoot, if you get me mad, I'm just not gonna come then. I'll see you tomorrow.
And that's what the people that don't want to change say, shoot, that's a sign for me. I can't find my keys.
Like, oh, I knew it. I wasn't supposed to do it. And I think too, with change, I would say know that emotion comes with it. Change brings emotion. So, and how we react is it matters, because you can sit there and whine and cry through the change, or you can just embrace it. Because sometimes some people, they legit like they're blocking changes right there, but because they're so in that like whining mode, or don't want it, or nervous or uncomfortable, you know, it's like, oh, I don't want it. I just want to stay in this area, because I, you know, tied into work. You know, we got young people in our job, and there's some older people that it's hard for them to adapt to change, because I mean, there's always a better process, you know, a better way of doing something. And I'm sorry, one of my gifts is administration. So like processes, I can look at something like, oh, we just do and this is how we can do it, and it make a better flow, right? But it's some people, they're so stuck in their ways. Well, this is how we've always done it. Okay. Like, okay, but there's a better way. It's just gonna take you learning this new way. So a lot of times the change is bringing the better way once you know, you just have to embrace it.
I agree. Change is good.
It is good. It's needed. That's all I had, y'all. I mean, this was great. Episode 12. Y'all need to rewind this thing. Like, For real. Did y'all have any questions or feedback that y'all want to leave before we jump off?
I would just say, leading with the change of the world, adapt to that change. Also, be open, like how you said, Nate. Be open to being pushed, because if you're not open to being pushed, you're not going to be open to changing stuff that is in a changing world. That's basically what it is, because they all tie together.
Yep.
That is good. Let's rewind that right now. Like that one right there, James. Like, oh my God, because we do live in a changing world. But as the world changes, make for sure that you are changing for the better in the inside, and not just changing with the world and the evilness and just the bitterness and stuff. Like, change to make a difference. Don't let the hurt and pain and the pressure change you to bring dullness to the world. Be that light that someone needs. Like, because you never know, just your change and your growth can help someone else change and grow as well.
And on that note, we are going to end it, guys. This is thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in, for the support. We're gonna start doing some giveaways too in the future. We got more stuff cooking on the way. But yeah, if you heard something tonight that resonated with you, hit that like button, share it with someone. If it's someone that you know personally, that you've had this conversation with them, or they done brought up something to you, and we touched on some of those things tonight, share it with them. They make something we said, and then a lot of times what you find is hearing from another perspective, hearing from someone else. She good. Hey, hear from someone else. It opens your mind, and you're able, and you're, maybe that person is able to receive it better from someone else. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely share it. But yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. God bless. We out.
Toodles.